We're in Lightfoot. Lightfoot is the Ford Transit 250 extended chassis, high roof, rear wheel drive. Because it's a 250, we've got to be very conscious of what weight we add to this van. We cannot add any unnecessary weight. I want to give this owner as much cargo carrying capacity as I can without sacrificing safety, durability, practicality, and a little bit of aesthetic. So here's one example of aesthetic. I love this little cabinet, this little shelf box we put in the back here. We cut out this face frame on the CNC machine. It's a high pressure laminate we put on the face. And then we did our rubber edge banding on this interior for durability. With a few screws, this will slide right out. Just remove a few screws and out it comes. And that gives us access to the water heater, which is tucked away over here. If we had to replace it, you would remove this, remove your connections, and that water heater would slide right out. That is my basic philosophy. My basic build philosophy is access. You've got to have easy access to all the systems, okay? This is my plumbing manifold. All to do with plumbing is right here. I like to keep the water on one side and the electrical on the other side. So you've got your freshwater tank. In this van, we have a 37-gallon tank, fresh water, with a nice big inspection hatch right here, fully accessible. And what I do is I send my pickup tube down through the top of the tank. When that's floating in the bottom of the tank, I put a big check valve on the bottom of that pickup tube so that when the pump sucks the water up, then you turn off the pump, rather than that water dropping back down the pickup tube to the level inside this tank. The check valve maintains pressure on this side of the pump, so the next time you turn it on, you're not sucking air. Once the pump sends it through, it goes to an accumulator tank. This particular pump I'm using now, I decided to add an accumulator tank. An accumulator tank is a container that has a balloon inside. That's a simple way to describe it. And when the water's passing through, that balloon maintains the pressure. Basically, it prevents you from getting any banging or pulsing. If you've ever taken an RV shower, sometimes when you're on full flow, you'll get a pulsing of the water. This is going to prevent that. And you basically, you check the air pressure with a bicycle tire gauge, and then you pump it up with a bicycle pump. And it should be typically the pressure of the pump, 55 PSI, 55 PSI, or a little bit higher. So from there, the water comes into the manifold. Blue is cold, red is hot. All my zones have an isolating valve, so we can shut off any single zone if there's a problem with it. This first zone goes to my water heater, which is behind this wall, fully accessible. If you take this out, you already know that. So then the hot water, once it's made, either by driving or with a 120-volt heater element that you can run off your inverter or shore power, then that hot water comes back to the manifold and feeds the galley and the outdoor shower. Same thing on the blue side. The cold water coming in will feed the galley and the outdoor shower. Very simple. All my lines are coming up and across the top of this bed frame. I've got a 3-inch C-channel that I'll be putting all the way across, and then my bedboard. So I've got a lot of room. I've got 3 inches of room inside these C-channel channels to run wires and such. On the starboard side in the garage is our bike tray and our inverter. This area, this bike tray area, is still a part of the Humble Road Research and Development Facility, which is in another part of the building. We're working on this, but I can give you some of the design parameters that we are queuing into. The main focus of the design was to get the bike completely out of the van in order for you to get it off the rack and use it for the day, rather than it being in the van somewhat and you got to reach and lean in to pick it out. You're going to hurt your back. So that was the main thrust. 60-inch drawer glides take it all the way out of the van. When it's closed up, it goes all the way into the galley in the front living area. It passes right through the bulkhead. The bulkhead is where the garage and the living space are divided. That bulkhead has an opening, and the rear of this bike is actually living under the galley countertop. The next thing we're working on is I want to develop a yoke, a fixed yoke that is adjustable depending on the bike. Basically, you're going to have maybe one strap to hold this bike in place. Unclick that strap and you lift this bike right off that yoke and you go and take your ride. Then when you come back, you set it right back on, reconnect the strap. That leaves you room up front for your bike shoes, your helmets. You can see your front tire is strapped up here. There's a perfect spot for it here. I'm not too keen on the bungee. That's just to hold it in place so we know it goes there and how much room we have to work with. This is the big, beautiful beast. We are working on both garages in both of these transit vans. We're bringing them along at the same pace. This is going to be a nice wide open floor area for them to bring their stuff. And they've got these two shelves. I put these baskets here for demonstration purposes only. But just so you can see, there's a shelf here so you can really maximize the vertical height back here. We do have our seat channels coming across and a fixed bed in the back of both of these vans. So all of this is underneath those seat channels. I will not be able to sit up here like this once we're completed with the mattress. You'll be crawling in to do any of this work. Here's the beach theme that's carrying through. I took the Douglas fir tongue and groove. We purchased the tongue and groove this time. I did not make it myself, but then I did a lot of rubbing work with it. I wanted it to be a weathered look, but still have a nice bright pop to it. So I did a number of different things using Rubio Monocoat and different Benjamin Moore paints and scrubbing and buffing and burnishing. And then we sealed it with Bona floor sealer. Really good product. Floor sealer. You know how durable that is? Unless you're going to try to walk on this wall, this is going to stay just this way forever. But it's a nice, I like the feel of this. I like it a lot. It's a real rustic. What I'm going for in both of these vans is just like an old weathered cottage in the dunes in Nantucket. If there's any brass, it's going to be tarnished and maybe have a little green on it. So that's the kind of thing. You could smell the salt air, and I just love that. All right, let's get back to earth now. So this van, as you know, has two refrigerators. They've got a refrigerator up front, 130 cubic, and then back here we've got our Dometic CFX. So this storage tray here, we had done a design iteration, proof of concept, months ago. We have since rebuilt it. We're now using 3/4 inch sides, and we laminated it with the black Formica, and we put our rubber edge banding on it to protect it. So this is a really nice little place to store your stuff. Why is it shaped this way, you ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. In the back, you're going to put your bigger, bulkier items. They have a place to stay. They're contained. They're not going to slam or fall, hit the inverter, whatever the case may be. But then this low side is very specific. We put that there so you could reach in from the side and pull something out if you needed it. If this was a full wall, a full height wall, you'd have to come around here and open this up to get at your component. So we tried to think of every convenience, every which way this thing would be used, and we just thought that, here, look how quick and easy that is to get at something and put it right back. The fridge freezer down below, the way this couple is going to travel, they are not full-timers. They are going to maintain their residence. They're going to do a lot of their meal prep at home and freeze those meals. So they will stock this, set it on freezer, and while they're on their trip, they could go out for weeks, months at a time. They can transfer the frozen foods from here and put them in the refrigerator up front. So they've got a lot of options. This is a fridge or a freezer. Lots of options. We like options. So what's left to do here, as you can see, I've got this board here that we've already laminated. This is going to be our plumbing wall, and this is where we're going to put our water pump and our accumulator tank. That's all going to set back in there. Easy to replace. I found that water pumps are one of the components that is more frequently replaced. So we want to make sure we can get at it. And it's basically a click in, click out procedure. We've got our access hatch. This is a 45-gallon water tank. So there's an access hatch here. We've got to keep that open, right? So all of my valves, my shutoffs are going to be on this wall, and then over here, a little bit of a return. But you need to get at that access. It's a game of Tetris, and every van is different. You can see these are both transits, but they're very different. Their layouts are different. The requirements are different. The way I have to plumb and position and locate things, very different. So each time we build a custom van, we are reinventing. We are starting from scratch and starting all over again. Yes, I know what my systems need to do. I will always maintain a plumbing manifold, but it takes different shapes depending on where we're going to put it in the van. This water heater, if that ever had to be replaced, God forbid, 2 screws out of the floor, 2 bolts here, and this whole shelf will slide away, and you can slide that water heater right out, make your disconnects, and put the new one back in. Again, that is the main build philosophy: safety, accessibility, and aesthetic. It's got to look pretty. My manifolds look pretty.